Hi, my name is Joelle Battista and I'm the Culinary Director at Chef IQ. Today, I'm going to give you an exclusive look at the all-new Chef IQ Smart Thermometer. From the time we launched the Chef IQ kitchen ecosystem with our first product, the Smart Cooker, we've been redefining what it means to be a connected cooking appliance. Now, with the Smart Thermometer, we're taking precision cooking to a whole new level. The Smart Thermometer has two components: the Smart Hub and the Probe. The Probe, which happens to be the thinnest in its class, has three unique temperature sensors that relay real-time data about the temperature of your food and its cooking environment. The Smart Hub then receives that information and transmits it to the Chef IQ app, so you can watch your cooking progress live or even follow along with a guided cooking recipe. With Bluetooth and Wi-Fi connectivity, you'll get updates no matter where you are. So if you're cooking something that takes a little bit longer, like a turkey in the oven or brisket on the smoker, just make sure that your Smart Hub is close to wherever your food is cooking so that you can get real-time updates and notifications from the Chef IQ app when it's time to go to the next step. All of this talking has actually made me super hungry, so why don't we get cooking? So there's no better way to show off the full capability of the Smart Thermometer than with a perfectly seared steak. And that's exactly what I'm gonna make for you. So today I'm gonna cook a seared steak with mushroom Dijon sauce. This is a Chef IQ recipe that you can find on the Chef IQ app. So let's jump into it. On the Chef IQ app, you can actually control all of the cooking. That's how you're gonna operate your Smart Thermometer. So you have the option to set your cook up manually or with our cooking calculator that has over thousands of permutations and ways to cook whatever food you desire. But today we're actually gonna be going into guided cooking. On the recipe overview page, you have the ingredient list, you have what tools you're going to need, and then you can even preview the steps right on the overview page if you want to get a feel for what you're doing before you even get started. Luckily, I'm pretty familiar with this recipe. I've cooked it a few times, and so we can actually jump right into it. So once you hit Start Guided Cooking, you get to this Prepare Your Ingredients page, and this is something known in the cooking world as mise en place, and what that really means is like getting your things in place before you get started to help minimize the amount of stress. Luckily today, we have everything prepped out all ready to go, so I'm gonna hit Done Prepping here, and taken right to the first step, which is to season the steaks with salt and pepper. So I'm gonna do that. These are some pretty thick steaks, so I'm gonna season them nicely because you are only seasoning on the outside of the meat, so you want to make sure that you have enough seasoning. Okay, nicely seasoned. They look delicious. Now I'm going to select a probe. We have my probe available, and take it out of the hub. It always lets me know it's on the same page as me, so that works out well. I'm going to insert the probe now. This is the most important part of the entire cooking process with the Smart Thermometer, and here's why. You want the probe to be in the coldest part of the meat because that is what is controlling the entire cooking process and all of the steps in between. It'll determine when you're supposed to flip, when you're supposed to remove from heat. And so we have videos here in every single recipe and also in the cooking calculator to show you exactly how to insert it so that you have a seamless cooking process. Insert it here, right into the middle. Now this is the exciting part. I'm gonna select my doneness. This is where you'll really see the power of the Smart Thermometer come out. In the guided cooking recipe, you'll see we have options for every doneness available, so rare through well. So today, crowd pleaser, I'm gonna choose medium rare. And that noise means that the hub has received all the information for this recipe and it's ready to start cooking with us. So now, in an 11 to 12 inch heavy duty skillet, which I have here, I'm gonna heat the oil over medium-high heat until hot. So we have our pan starting to heat up, so I'm gonna start the timer on the app. That's the time that we think it should take your oil to heat up in your pan enough for you to want to start searing. You can see that when the oil gets hot, it starts to glisten. We actually just got the little notification on the app to tell us that the timer has ended. So now that our timer has ended, we're gonna go to the next step and we're gonna add our steaks. This is the fun part. So as we get into this cooking step, you can see that the format of the app has actually changed. What's represented here now is a dial that shows your full cooking process, and each notch on the dial represents a different action. So as the temperature of your steak is changing, we're calculating the estimated time left before you get to that next action. So we're actually just about ready to flip, and as soon as we get to that flip mark,
for probe 1, please flip your food.
wow, the steak is looking so good. The Hub audio notifications are so helpful no matter where you are. If you don't have your phone on you or your iPad or whatever, using the Chef IQ app on, if you're near the grill or if you're near your stove, you can hear the notifications from the Hub and know exactly what to do. So now that we've flipped our steaks, I'm just gonna go to the next step. And we're already estimating the remaining time to cook, which is really awesome. We have a very specific flip percentage for every recipe and for every permutation. And it depends on the thickness of the steak and the cooking method that we're suggesting. But basically, we're eliminating the confusion of we don't know, when to flip or what temperature to flip at. We've optimized it for you, so no matter what temperature you start at, you'll always flip at the right point in your cooking process.
For probe 1, please remove your food from heat.
So without even having to look down at the app, I know it's time to take the steaks out of the pan. They're looking beautiful. Perfectly seared and crispy. And so now this is the best part. We're gonna let these rest and they're gonna continue to cook. It's called carryover cooking when the food is still heating through from the outside, and so the temperature will continue to rise a little bit. So our remove from heat temperature is about 5 to 10 degrees lower actually than what your target temperature is for that doneness. So now we're gonna go ahead and make our mushroom Dijon sauce. So we're gonna add our mushrooms, shallots, garlic, and a little bit of salt to the pan. This little bit of salt will help the mushrooms release some of their liquid, and it'll naturally start to pull some of the brown bits off the bottom of the pan, and that is all delicious flavor. So you can see the mushrooms are really starting to release their liquid, and all the stuff that was stuck when we started is now incorporated into the mushrooms and the shallots. So we're just gonna let this continue to cook for another minute, let it cook down a little bit more. I think that the best part about guided cooking as a Chef IQ feature is that every step has a video. And all of these videos are done in-house by our in-house team, with our culinary team and our video team, everyone working together. And so every step really does represent what you're supposed to be seeing in your pan. Especially for people who don't know what they're looking for when we mention visual cues in the text, it's really helpful to have right in front of you, oh, that's what my sweated onions or that's what my sauce is supposed to look like at this stage. It's definitely eliminating any stress of not being sure when to go to the next step, and to know that, okay, my dish is coming out exactly the way that Chef IQ wants it to. So right on cue, our timer is just about to end, and it's actually perfect. Our mushrooms have released most of their liquid. You can smell everything. It smells so good. I wish you could smell it. So now we're gonna add the brandy and deglaze the pan. So any bits that are still stuck onto the pan or that have cooked on with the sugars of the shallot being released are gonna come off now that we're gonna add alcohol. And if you're adding this over an open flame, I would probably turn the stove off, then add the alcohol, then turn it back on. Otherwise you could end up with a much larger flame than what you anticipated. You can smell the alcohol actually starts to cook off pretty quickly, and it'll just infuse the sauce with an even more delicious flavor. So our liquid has reduced by at least half from what I put in, so we're actually gonna move on to the next step. The very final step of this delicious sauce is we're gonna add some heavy cream and some Dijon mustard. The mushrooms and the shallots and the Dijon really work well together. We're gonna start our timer here. So every recipe on the Chef IQ app is developed by our in-house culinary team. And every recipe goes through so many rounds of testing and trials and tastings. and is really fun. It can be super dangerous for your waistline because every day there are delicious things coming out of the test kitchen. But basically, we just want to make sure that our users have a seamless experience by the time they get to the app. We don't want any question marks. We want all of the timers and the percentages all worked out ahead of time so that by the time our user gets to the Smart Thermometer and uses the app, that everything goes super smoothly. And if they're having friends and guests over, it's like they were the master chef the whole time. Our sauce is reducing really nicely. You can see it start to simmer. It's gonna thicken. Okay, so our timer just went off, means the sauce is done, which is really exciting because that means we get to plate it and eat it now. So our steaks have been resting the entire time we've been making the sauce, and they've had plenty of time to reabsorb those juices. So we're gonna remove our probe now, slice and serve. And we're gonna slice it up. Let's see our beautiful medium rare steak. I would say that's pretty perfect. It looks really good. It's like restaurant quality, and it's so impressive for people, especially if you've never been able to cook a steak perfectly before, to know that it's going to come out perfectly medium rare every time. There's nothing better than that, especially when you spend a lot of money on a piece of meat. You want it to be exactly the way that you want it cooked. And we're gonna plate it up pretty because y'all are watching. Show off that perfect doneness there. Very nice. We'll take a little sauce. Move this over. Oh, it smells so good. And just drape it right over the slices. You don't want it to be too heavily sauced. Just enough that you get a little mushroom with each bite. That looks perfect. And we actually have some potatoes on Keep Warm that I made in the Smart Cooker, so I'm gonna grab those. And there you have it. Strip steaks with mushroom Dijon sauce served with herbed baby potatoes. It smells incredible, and I just cannot help myself. I have to try it. That is so good. I cannot wait for you to get this product, get the Smart Thermometer in your hands, and start cooking these incredibly delicious recipes. There really is nothing better than being able to create such a perfectly cooked steak for yourself at home. Especially if you're gonna spend the money on the beautiful steak, you wanna make sure you cook it exactly the way that you like it, and that is what we can do with the Chef IQ Smart Thermometer. Thank you so much for joining me in the kitchen today. I can't wait to see all of your Smart Thermometer creations. Get yours today at chefiq.com. It's actually pretty good.
MRB rolls. Yeah.
Bye.